Hello and welcome. This is Direct Talk. On today's session, I'm joined by Matteo Frontini. He's a chief of UNICEF's field office in Tigrai. Matteo, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
My first question is, one of UNICEF's mission is to protect the rights of children, but children in Tigray have been facing unbearable challenges. What was your office's role in this specific period?
Thank you for the question. Well, as you know, UNICEF has been in Tigray and is in Ethiopia for many years, even before the crisis. And unfortunately, with the recent 2 years conflict in the northern Ethiopia, children have been suffering a lot. So UNICEF has been providing as best as we can with the support of other partners, civil societies and stakeholders, life-saving activities that are including nutrition, health, child protection, and in some cases, education in emergencies. As I mentioned, UNICEF has been in this region for many years, so we tried to use what we had already established through the bureaus and the partnerships that we had here in Tigray to ensure these linkages between the humanitarian life-saving opportunities for children whilst the conflict was occurring.
The right to get education is a right set under the International Convention for Children's Rights. Well, children in Tigray were out of school for more than 2 years. What were your efforts to stop this discontinuation of school?
That's a very good question. I think children, as you mentioned, education is a right for every child in the world. And we know that due to the conflict, a lot of schools were not accessible for children in this region and in part of the northern Ethiopia crisis. So with the Bureau of Education and again with the partners, we have been working on alternative education measures like radio schoolings or community radio approaches where children could listen through radios and try to maintain the minimum of the education system. Unfortunately, with the recent crisis, even that was stopped. So for us and for the coming weeks and months, and part of all the new development is to actually re-establish the opening of schools and to start again allowing children to access primary and secondary school.
But the radio school is yet to be started.
Yes, it's yet to be started, but as we know, with the new development of the peace agreement and with the support of partners and the Bureau of Education, this is one of the priorities, to reopen the primary and secondary schools.
How do you assess UNICEF's activities in Tigray in comparison to other places where conflicts were taking place in the world?
Well, conflict is unfortunately a negative aspect of human beings all over the world. Talking about children. Children are always the victims of conflict. So I think the major difference of the conflict that we have seen here was that unfortunately Tigray and the northern Ethiopian conflict felt in a period where the world in general is suffering of a lot of other emergencies. So we, despite the efforts, we found quite challenging to respond to all the needs. But I think now that there is this new development and towards peace with the peace agreement, we will put aside the major challenges and we move forward to make sure that children are actually taken care appropriately, like in the rest of the world.
Is there any special demands that you're observing given the level of the damage?
The damage is very big, and we are now working jointly with also other regions, with Afar and Amara, with UNICEF. We are working with other partners through a reconstruction plan, and obviously with the government. The whole idea is to focus on big priorities. One is restarting the vaccination campaign, and we're very happy to announce that with a lot of efforts and partners, we managed to restart the measles campaigns for children, and we are actually catching up with the COVAX campaign also for mothers and adults. Education is a big other priority, as you just mentioned, but also nutrition and child protection. There's a lot of IDPs still in the northern Ethiopian regions, and I'm sure that, you know, if we keep positive and the peace agreement continues, we will achieve two great results.
What kind of developments are you observing after the signing of the peace deal?
Well, UNICEF is working for children. We're not in the political side, but I think it seems that there's a lot of positive engagement from all parties. I see in the streets a lot of enthusiasm. People want to have peace. I think we can't have development without peace, but you can't have peace without development. So I really hope that the peace agreement continues, and that will allow us to work even more for children and to ensure their rights.
The children in Tigray have been through difficult times and traumatized. How can the children be healed psychologically?
I think the children, the best space to be for children is their families at the community level. So whilst the peace agreement is developed and put in place, we need to work with the communities to make sure that peace building activities are also taken in consideration, and that positive messaging are brought at the community level and not just in urban areas. Trauma, it's something that, you know, conflict gives to everybody, not just to children, and together with our partners we're happy to support the government of Ethiopia and to support the stakeholders, the civil society's organization to ensure peace-building activities.
What will be your role in the healing process?
UNICEF, as I mentioned earlier, we were here many years ago, and we were here in the crisis, and UNICEF will be partner of Ethiopia for hopefully for many more. And so we, with the support of donors, with supporters of partners, we want to put in place a scale-up program to reach the most vulnerable areas in Tigray and in northern Ethiopia. We want to move from the humanitarian to the development responses, and I think we're on the good road. So let's join hands together to build and to maintain peace, and I'm sure that UNICEF with you all together we will achieve to that.
Matthew, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Our viewers, this was all for today's session. Until next time, bye-bye.